Welcome to another episode of 50 Shades of Shilamita with your hostess, Shilamita. I am super excited today to introduce to you my guest. She is a young entrepreneur, and I love being able to have different guests of different ages and different lifestyles coming on to share with us what is actually possible for us in this world and in this life. So let me grab her bio. Anastasia is a business coach for spiritual female entrepreneurs, empowering women to live life beyond their wildest dreams. She has a passion for psychology, for helping others understand themselves, better their lives, and contribute to their growth. She is from the Ukraine, and she's wanted to be a millionaire since the age of 15. She actually became a millionaire at the age of 23. I am super excited to dive into her life. Please welcome Anastasia to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I'm beyond excited to share my journey with you guys and empower, inspire your listeners and whoever's going to come and listen to this podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know how we got connected, but we are connected on Instagram, and I just love watching your journey. I love watching your reels. For those of you who are listening or watching, you definitely have to check out Anastasia's little reels that she does, because they're really super empowering. You really go for it, and I love that.
Thank you so much.
So we have something in common. I am also from the Ukraine, but you came here recently, right? Not that long ago.
I came here about 6 years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be 7 in May, actually.
Wow, that's amazing. So how old were you when you came to the country?
21. I was 21.
Wow, that's incredible. So you learned the language, or you knew English before you came?
I should say that I've learned it when I moved, because I did speak it and I did understand it, but it wasn't it wasn't fluent for me when I moved. So I could express things that I wanted, but I wouldn't be able to have a conversation or to lead a conversation like the one that we're having today.
Yeah. So you come to America at the age of 21 with a dream of being a millionaire. Did you have family here? Did you get a job here? What brought you here?
Right. So I came here as an exchange student. So basically this program was called Work and Travel. And the whole thing was that you come from another country. And my first location was Virginia Beach. And my job there was to sell the souvenirs in a store. And so then I quit that job because my best friend got fired and we had to move somewhere else. I couldn't leave her anyway. So we found this other job which was the waitressing, right? And we were waitresses for 3 months. And then at some point, I didn't know. I thought that because I had a pretty good life in Ukraine, right? I was in a law school in Ukraine. I had my little business with Airbnbs in Ukraine. I was leasing apartments and Airbnbing them. So, I was traveling. My mom lives in Greece. So my summers I was spending Greece. I had it, I had a nice life. I wasn't having a committed relationship or whatever, but I was very happy. So then at some point in that waitressing job, by the end of it, 3 months in, the manager pissed me off, right? He was, I don't want to get into religion and stuff. He was Muslim, right? And I don't know how men are raised in that country or whatever, but I think that in my particular scenario, I don't think he knew how to treat women or his employees. So he was rude to everyone, but specifically to me. And we had a fight. He pissed me off. And next day I booked my trip to Bahamas with the last money that I had. And that's how I ended up in Miami. And in Miami, it just happened so that I had a friend from Ukraine, also from the same program. And I texted him and I was like, hey, can we stay with you for a few days before and after the Bahamas trip? And so we did. And the entire trip, and we stayed in Miami with my girlfriend, right, for 2 days. And I was looking at all these, Lamborghinis and people and brands. And it was everything was so inspiring to me. And I was like, listen, if in my head, I had these conversations with myself that if I'm not going to try, I'm never going to know. And I can always go back, but it's very, I doubted that I will ever have this chance again to come to America like that. And so I'm like, maybe I can figure this out. And then we went on this Bahamas trip. And the entire 2 weeks I was thinking like, how can I stay? I didn't say anything to anybody, right? I was just like, how can I stay, right? And I was like, maybe I could stay for another half a year and then go back and like work and make some more money and stuff like that, right? Because what a waitress makes in America is like what an employee like of a high caliber makes in Ukraine, right? So at some point I was, just being purely honest, I was on Tinder, right, on the dating app, and I found this guy, and we matched, and I was like, hey, like I really want to stay. It's like, this is all I was talking about. I was like, hey, can you help me? Like I really want to stay like for a few more months, and maybe you have a way, right? Like maybe you have a way to help me. Like I don't want anything from you. I really want to stay. And this guy, he happened to be Jewish, and he happened to be really good. Like we're still best friends until this day, right? Like it's been almost 7 years. And so he's like, why not? So he's like, come stay with me. And he was living with his parents. Like his parents lived in Israel, but partially they were in Miami and they were in Israel. And so I was, cleaning their apartment. I was helping his mom to cook. I was like doing this housekeeping thing, and I had my own room, and I was like so happy. They were paying me almost like $100 per day, right? And I was like, wow, this is the most money I've ever made in my life. And so from there, I was going and going and going, and I found other jobs. Like I got my, I legalized myself, because it was also a process, right? And then I got married, then I moved to my own apartment, then I got divorced. Like life got in the way, right? But the story of the $1 million thing, so I was 23, right, when I made my $1 million, and it was honestly very metaphysically speaking. I got a lot into spirituality and into meditation, and and I just started believing in myself so much, right? And then it just happened so that I had in Ukraine, I should say, the guy was Greek, but we were dating, and he was like living with me in Ukraine. I was living with him in Greece before I moved to America. And so it just happened so that he was dealing a lot with crypto and trading and Bitcoin and stuff like that. He was telling me about it back then when we were dating, back then when I was living in Ukraine. And so 23 years old comes, and I'm like, what about this crypto stuff, right? And so I got into it, and at that time I already saved a lot of money, so I just invested and I started trading. And then he came back into my life as a friend, and I asked him to help me, and he's like, yeah, you do this and this and this. So I've learned slowly, and I was meditating every day, and literally in like, from making like, I don't know, maybe I made maybe 200,000 in those like 2 years, right? Like the first 2 years, like maybe, all the jobs I had combined. And then in 3 months, I've crossed $1 million in crypto. And I was like, whoa, like if I can do this, like I can do anything, right? But then there was another side, right? There was another side to becoming a millionaire so early, right, in life, because, I always knew I'm going to be a millionaire, right? I always knew I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to live the life of my dreams. Like, I'm going to be like my own boss, right? My own husband, like my own everything, my own money. And at some point I thought, it's going to happen maybe when I'm 50, but it's going to happen nevertheless. And so when it happened at 23, and I was enjoying my success. I did my investments, I retired my mom, like I bought her apartments. It's like, it was the whole thing. But then I was depressed, right? Like I got into depression because I got everything I ever wanted so early, and I didn't know how to hold this, right? Like I didn't know how to hold this kind of money, this kind of wealth. I didn't know what else to do. Like everything I ever wanted, all of my dreams, right? All the bags I wanted to buy, right? The travels I wanted to do, I could do. And I just I didn't like, it's like, it felt like I lost myself for a while.
Get that?
So from there, I started my coaching journey, I should say. Like it was more like personal development journey. And, I attended everything I could. Like I think I did all the master classes and courses on Mind Valley. I don't know if you've heard of Mind Valley, right?
Yeah.
Everything they have there. And then I took it up a notch, and I started going to Tony Robbins. So I did 3 or 4 of his events. I think it was three of his. Twice I did, I think, the Unleash the Power Within, and once the Date with Destiny, which like changed things for me completely. I did Joe Dispenza, right? Like I did all of these personal development things. And then at some point, like I took 2 years for my personal development to just find myself. I went through a divorce, right? through a breakup, and it's like I had to, in a way, I had to rebuild my life again. And I couldn't be the Anastasia that I was when I came to America, just, dreaming big. I had to, in a way, I had to change my identity. I had to grow up so much, right? Like into the identity of the woman that I wanted to be. And yeah, and then in 2 years, I was like, I really want to do something for, for others, like in a way that I want to have a job that contributes to the growth of others. And that's how I started my business, my coaching business, right? I started teaching women around money mindset and how to like raise their prices and how to know your worth around the work that you do, right? And how to, in a way, manifest things, right? And I gave them the, meditation that I did or was doing and still doing, right? For the $1 million that I had, because inside the meditation, I had those insights that were like, okay, do this, do this, do this, do that, right? Like it's like, I don't know if you're into that, but
Yeah.
you can hear your intuition, you can feel your intuition, you trust yourself, and then you just move and it works. And you're just like, whoa, it's like you're almost like a magician. So I do believe in that stuff, and I use that, right, until this day. Anyway, and then I started money mindset coaching, and I was coaching women, and I was like, okay, this feels nice. Like I love it. I love my girls, right? And then at some point I started helping them start their businesses, right? To be more independent, self-employed, quit their 9-to-5s. At some point I grew it, right? Like my first year, I made 6 figures in that business. And this year I've leaned more towards, okay, so you have a gift, right? Like you want to create a service around this, you want to have a business around it, and you want to do it on social media. And so in a way, I've turned into this money mindset business coach, but business coaching is on social media, right? And I do a lot of social media marketing, the reels that you were mentioning, right? Like I help others like grow that, but not from the purely, the bro marketing kind of thing, like, okay, I need my success, but from the point of view that, okay, you have a gift and you want to share it with the world, and you know that you can help others with that gift, and you lead up other women towards, their better lives. And I help other women to bring that gift to the world through social media, as well as the money mindset that I do. So
Wow.
that's
Wow, we need to like rewind and break this down now. Okay, so you come to America on this foreign exchange program, you get a job, you hate it, you're with a friend, you guys are now together, you book a trip to the Bahamas and you just want to stay, and you meet somebody on Tinder. You don't date this person.
No, we're just like, no, we're just best friends with this guy.
You don't date this person, but somehow you get his mom to hire you as the housekeeper so that what happens to your friend at this point?
She left, she went back to Ukraine.
Okay, she left, you stay because you had this burning desire to stay. Okay, in the process, you decide to learn crypto. Do you still trade crypto?
No, I have my investments in crypto, in the Bitcoin machines, in the miners.
Okay.
If I'm going to be specific, I do have investments there that, that created my passive income, that I don't have to worry, like, if it's like, if I decide today I don't want to work ever again, which is not going to happen because I love my job, like I love my coaching. But if I do, it's like, I'm set. Like right. For as long as crypto exists, I'm good.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so I want to touch upon this because I think one of your reels, you were talking about, you don't become rich by spending your money. It's like you become rich by investing your money, or
right.
Right. You had a reel like that. And I thought that was really powerful because here I am, a 43-year-old woman, and it took me a really long time to understand that you need to invest your money properly. And so I totally can relate with the, having everything that you could possibly desire and still not being happy, right? There's like this feeling of void. It's like, well, I've come here and I've accomplished every single thing that I want to accomplish. Now what, right? Because you always desire for more, right? Like I can definitely think of lots of other things that I'd like in this life, but if my life was to end tomorrow, I'm completely, totally satisfied and fulfilled and have experienced all the experiences and all of the things. So I think a lot of people fail to know and understand that, right? I think a lot of people think that they're going to become rich and all of their problems are going to be solved, or they're going to have money and all of a sudden everything is going to be okay. But the world of spiritual enlightenment, personal development, all of these things, it's an ongoing lifetime thing, right? As soon as you start getting comfortable, it's like, boom, those old feelings of lack and not worthiness and what now and what's going to give comes back to haunt you.
Yeah, that's for sure. Touching on the topic of saving money, I always knew that okay, I have to save money to invest money, right? But not just like save to invest, right? And I think that this my secret towards, because many people invested in crypto and many people lost, right? And I think that the secret to investing is, of course, risk management. Of course, you have to think about, if you lose it, like what are you gonna do? But my secret was I wasn't afraid to lose it. Like I knew that the source of my income is me. Like it's not it's not like other people, it's not crypto, it's not anything I do I can make money, right? Anything, because I'm smart, because worthy of money, because I want to live this life, and anything I touch I can learn things, right? So the source of my income is me, and even if I lose it all today, like it's okay, because I can make more, right? And I think most people who invested in crypto or anything, right, they were playing it on a spectrum of fear, right? Like if I lose it, like that's it for me, for my family, for like for my mom, for my wife, or like for my husband or whatever. And so for me it wasn't like that, right? For me it was like, okay, I'm going to invest, and if I lose it, then so what? I can always make it back and I can invest again, and I'm going to play it smarter next time. So yeah, that's why like even if I would lose, I think that the outcome for me would still be the same.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful for people to know and understand that the mindset is always there, that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay, right? And you have this belief system instilled in you that no matter what, you're always going to be able to make money, you're always going to make it happen. And most people, they're operating in a very different kind of existence and a very different kind of belief system, where first they don't even think that it's possible for them, right? So that's like, most people don't think that that's possible for them. And then when you do find the belief system of like, okay, this is possible, it's like once you have it, then how do I hold on to it, right? Because now it's like, well, I've never had all of this kind of wealth before. How do I go about living without spending it all? And I find that I get lost in this part a lot. It's like, at what point do you go from shopping at Marshall's to shopping at Bloomingdale's, and it's okay to buy the $1,000 shirt or the $2,000 shoes, or in comparison to the $60 shoes you were picking up last week? So there's like this fine line of like, at what point do you actually go from zero to luxury, and when is it safe? Is it ever safe?
Okay, so I think that there is the point when $20 is a lot for you, right? Mm-hmm. And then there is a point where $200 is a lot for you, but 20 is okay now, right? So then there is a point where $2,000 is a lot for you, but then 200 now is fine. And then 20,000 is a lot, but 2,000 is now fine, right? So then 100,000 is a lot, but now 10,000 is fine, right? So 1,000,000 is a lot, and then 100,000 is fine. So in comparison to that, right, like as you grow, you always your lifestyle grows, right? Like you become more living this luxurious life, right? But for me it wasn't, for me it was never really about this like luxury things, right? Like when I made my $1 million, I was sitting in my pants for like $10 from Virginia that I brought, right? And for the first 2 years I didn't even have like nice clothes. I had maybe like a few dresses, when I stayed in Miami I had like maybe 2 pairs of pants, right? It was never, I just wanted, I wanted the cash, I wanted the money, I wanted like to feel secure, and it doesn't matter like what I'm going to buy with that, as long as I know that I have it, right? And so but at the same time, there are a lot of beliefs that, so for example, when I was making, I don't know, 200 or like 100 per day, or like 600 per week, right? Or like there was a time when I was making 600 per month. But, even at that time, I wouldn't have a problem to go to like a Chanel store and check the bags and be like, okay, one day I'm going to buy it. If that was my desire, right? Like, so I didn't care really. Like I didn't care to wear, $10 pants, and I didn't care to go in a Chanel store and buy the bag, because I didn't feel like this difference, right? I always felt like I am that. Like if I want it, it's mine. It doesn't matter. But for example, I have many clients, right, who I specifically give the homework to go to the luxury store and be like, okay, observe what beliefs come up. Like, what are you thinking? Do you think that, oh my God, now everyone knows I'm poor? Like, do you think that now everyone knows I'm not enough? I'm never going to be able to buy that. And for me, my first time ever shopping that I did, like, I had a desire to do this shopping. I had a desire to, to elevate my lifestyle, to elevate my wardrobe, and, to go and shop and have that experience. So I think I spent like maybe $50,000 on that shopping just for myself, and I went and bought it. But what I did, I actually created like this vision board kind of thing. I didn't know back then what I was doing, right? But I went on the website of like Valentino and Christian Louboutin, right, and Chanel and Loro Piana, and I went on their website and I created this list of like what I wanted: the shoes, the bags, the dresses, right? And I just went into the store and I knew exactly what I wanted, and I wasn't like walking around or something. I came and I was like, look, I want this. Please pack this. Like, let me try if the size fits, and I bought it, right? And I left. Like that was that. But then I remember, they also brought me champagne. And when you go to Saks Fifth Avenue, right, like I'm now like a VIP client there. So, every time I come, they're like, Anastasia, hi, how are you? Like champagne, coffee, tea, whatever. And so that's nice to have, right? That's nice to have. But it's not going to be something like, it helps to work through those beliefs if you go to those stores and you have those beliefs, right? But for me, it was always like, okay, when I was going after the million and when I was going after all this money, it wasn't the shops, it wasn't the clothes, it was my belief in myself that I am the one. Like I am the one, I am the chosen one, I am 1%, and I even remember, my mom, she lives in Greece, right? And now that I bought her, the properties, and now that she's retired, like my mom, she works because she wants to, because it's like, she's a cardiologist, but, she helps others, but like she doesn't really have to. And so when people were asking her, oh, your daughter, like she made so much, like she must be doing some shady shit, in America. Like, and my mom was like, you don't understand, my daughter, she's 1%. That's why, and I was like, that feels good, that feels good. That's what I said, like my entire life, that I'm just a chosen one. And I know this.
And isn't it interesting that that's where people's minds went, that you had to be doing something shady or something wrong? Because how is it possible that a beautiful young Ukrainian woman could go to the United States and make it happen for herself? It's really like such a shame that that's what society is out there thinking. And I that's why I love doing this show and bringing on the women that I bring on, because there is this like perception in the world that if you're making a certain kind of salary or you're living a really great lifestyle, that you have to be doing something wrong, or the money has to be coming in a shady way, or so I hope that the listeners and the viewers of the show really start to break down those parameters, because I know, many years ago, I also had this perception around money and being rich and rich people, and that there was something bad about it, and there was some kind of like bad stigma. And now the more that I live, the more that I understand, the more money I have, the more money other people have, right? The richer I become, the more wealth I get to spread out into the world. And what people don't really understand is that all of the great spiritual leaders like Buddha, Jesus, all those people, they had money. Like they had what they desired. And we don't put that on the forefront. Like we only talk about their suffering and what it took to become who they are, but we don't actually speak about the fact that these people also had wealth and riches, and that it's our actual birthright to acquire that if we desire.
Yeah, I even teach one of my master classes around wealth and money, that about the Mary Teresa and Jesus and Buddha, right? Buddha, he was from a very wealthy family, right? And he chose to live the suffering. He chose to become poor, right? And then he made history, because so many people are like, oh, but like you had to be born this way, or you had to do some shady stuff to do this, right? And it's like, it doesn't occur to them that that you can actually make so much money doing something that you love. And it's like, if you believe in yourself and you believe in your abilities, and you're just like, I'm going to do whatever it takes, but I don't have to like, it doesn't have to be harmful to others, right? But I'm going to do what it takes. And trust me, it was a lot, right? Like, you had to trust yourself, you had to have courage, you had to save money, you had to have the mindset around that.
Right.
So, but for me, it was also, I think, how everything that we have and everything that we think, right, came from our childhood, and that better than anyone else, right? So for me, for example, I was raised by my grandparents, right? And my grandparents, until I was like 12 years old, and then I moved to Greece to live with my mom, which was the poverty life as it is. But before that, I was living with my grandparents. My grandparents, they were wealthy, right? And so I always had stuff, right? I always had the clothes, I always had, the most expensive stuff, the phones, the jewelry, like like everything I wanted. Like, I was just this golden child. But what I didn't have is my own money. Like, I didn't have the freedom, right? I didn't have this, like, I can do whatever I wanted, right? And so with my mom, when I moved to Greece, I didn't have the money, but now I had the freedom, right? Like, I do whatever I want, and then I could explore things, right? And I was like, oh, mom, like summers, I was working at the supermarket, like in the Russian supermarket in Greece, like it was Russian supermarket, I should say, yeah, Polish Russian supermarket. And I was like selling stuff there to save money to buy myself shoes, right? And so that was like this entrepreneurial thing was always in me. But when I came to America, I was like, God, this is freedom. Like, I can do whatever I want now, right? Like, I can be whoever I want. I can grow into this identity. I can make as much money as I want, and nobody like has to, like tell me what I have to do or stuff like that. So I think that, as to clothes and the luxury and stuff like that, I always knew that, I can have it. And that's why I think that I'm really good at teaching others, like, listen, like, you can have that too, right? Like, you can have that. It's just because it is so in me. Right. But also like making money and believing in yourself and be like, no, you are the one. Like, the world will tell you, no, you're not. And you're like, no, I am, and you move and go forward, and you trust yourself, and you make the money, and you make the lifestyle. But also money. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, you think that when you have all this money, like, life is never going to be the same. Like, of course, yes. Yeah. You have so much more, but internally, like, you're the same person, like internally. The same, like dreams that you have, like the traveling, the small moments, the friendships, right, the celebrations, experiences, right, like, it's all with like these other people that you love, that you cherish, that you have dinners with, that you have really nice deep conversations with, the healing journeys that you go on, right? It's like these things stay. It's just like now you don't have, the only problems that you don't have is money problems, right? But then you have other stuff, like you have to hire an assistant, like when you're making more, right? You have to know about taxes, right? You have to have a bookkeeper, like you have to have all these things, which is like more responsibility, but it doesn't really change, right? It's like you're still living the same life, you're still you just have a lot more money now. So
the greatest wealth currency that I have occurred is emotional intelligence. I feel like the fact that things can happen to me and I don't react, or, that I can practice radical forgiveness. And I think that is the biggest wealth currency that anybody could ever acquire. And having money definitely makes life funner. There is no question. But, I was on food stamps 12 years ago, and now I live a very different life. And the difference between the two is the emotional intelligence, right? Because had I become a millionaire 12 years ago, I would not have been able to handle that. And even now, I'm still learning how to handle that, right? Because the problems, they just get bigger, like more money, more problems. I understand that now, right? Because it's just on a different level, because you're acquiring more, right? More properties, more investments, more people to manage, more. People don't really realize that if you can't handle yourself in a poor state or in the growing state, you're never going to be able to handle yourself in the money state. So there's that inner game that's really important to work on. And I love the fact that you are a coach for women. How do people find you if they want to find you on the internet?
Thank you so much for sharing and for asking. I do agree with emotional intelligence. And I think that the part of emotional intelligence is also spirituality for me, because it does amplify my calm state, right? When I'm doing my breath work, when I'm meditating, right? When I don't react, right? Like when things happen, I'm like, and I used to so much. I was so impulsive, like that was insane, right? And now it's like, I'm going to go meditate and I'm going to give you the answer within the next 24 hours. And that's going to be fine. So people can find me I go by Anastasia Dilore, Anastasia, and then DELORE on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, and my website is also anastasiadilore.com.
Great. And then if people want to work with you, you work with women one-on-one, you do group classes. How can somebody work with you?
So I do have one-on-one coaching for women, and now I'm opening up to coaching men as well, because that's, what my shaman advised. He said that, you should try this venture. And I was like, okay, I'm going to. So I'm open to that as well. I'm open. I wasn't open to that before, but now I am. So I have one-on-one, right? It's 3 months container with me, private. And then I have 2 courses, right? I have one on Unleashing Wealth, which is happening next week. We are launching the Unleashing Wealth, which is all about the money mindset, all about the unleashing that power within you, the codes, the wealth, right? Like the managing the money, the psychological part of money, the spiritual part of money, right? Like the blocks, the limiting beliefs, all of that. So I have that on the course on money, and I have a course on influence and social media. And, when someone wants to share their gifts and share it with other people, create a service of it and monetize it, then I also have a course on social media.
I love that. Thank you so much for joining me today. This was an amazing conversation. For those of you that are catching the show for the very first time, my name is Shilamita. You can also find me all over social media. On Instagram, I hang out at 50 Shades of Shilamita. I also have goddess_of_gratitude. On Facebook, you can find me at Shilamita Cooperstein. On YouTube, my show channel is 50 Shades of Shilamita. And I also hang out on Pinterest because I am the Pinterest queen. My website is www.shilamita.com. There is no E in my name. It's SHILAMIDA. If you spell it correctly, you will find me. Anastasia, any last words of advice for the audience listening today?
Last words of advice. I think that, that everyone should implement affirmations in their lives. Like that's just what's coming up for me right now, that, because the most powerful shifts that I ever had was when I truly embodied that identity of the affirmations that I was telling myself, right? Like that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you're beautiful, you're smart, you're capable, you're the one, you're the chosen one, you're 1%, you can do this, right? And I think that identity shift, thanks to the affirmations, was what helped me to acquire things that I have today.
I love that. That's great advice. I totally agree. And for those of you who don't think that affirmations work, you have to change the affirmation to work for you, right? Instead of saying, I am a millionaire when you're not, you can say, I am working towards becoming a millionaire. Like there's many ways to change affirmations so that they work for you. I've done that a ton in my spiritual work. I have that in all of my books. So I agree with that. That's the best way to end this show. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is a great conversation. Thank you for all of you who are listening and watching, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.